Maverick shares with his children how to conduct themselves in the car if stopped by the police, emphasizing actions to ensure their safety.
But keep your hands where they can see them.
Starr was just 9 years old at the time. From early on, their father instilled in them pride in their black identity. Starr is now 16. The family resides in a poor neighborhood. Previously, their father was the right-hand man to the local gang leader. Today, he owns a small grocery store. Their mother dreams of their children leaving the ghetto one day. In the local school, it's either fit in or get beaten up.
The high school is where you go to get jumped, high, pregnant, or killed.
So Lisa sent the children to a private school to prepare them for college. At this school, Starr transforms. She avoids slang and is always polite, so no one suspects her ghetto upbringing. Starr has white friends and a white boyfriend. Chris dreams of betting a girl and meeting her father, but Starr knows it won't end well. White girls disdainfully eye the mixed-race couple. Starr doesn't fare any better in her neighborhood. Among fellow black peers, she also feels out of place. Kenya is her only black friend, linked only through a stepbrother. Kenya often frustrates Starr, as she does now. She wants Starr to back her up in causing trouble for some girl. Bullies mock Starr for dressing and behaving white. Amid the chaos, Starr spots Khalil, a stylish guy she used to be friends with. Khalil also teases her for hanging out with white classmates. A brawl breaks out, shots are fired, and everyone scatters. Starr jumps into Khalil's car. Khalil used to work at McDonald's for pennies, and his grandmother was recently fired when she got cancer. But now, he's got money and wears trendy clothes. Starr immediately realized her friend had turned into a drug dealer. He claimed he had no other choice. Khalil stopped to reminisce about their childhood playing Harry Potter and their first kiss. Khalil kissed Starr again.
I got a boyfriend.
Yeah, I heard.
Khalil got nervous. A cop pulled them over almost immediately and demanded they stop. Starr remembered her father's instructions and asked Khalil to put his hands on the dashboard where they could be seen.
Please, just do it.
Khalil resisted, refusing to show his ID and turned down the music. Eventually, he stepped out of the car, and the cop yelled at Starr not to film him. The officer took Khalil's ID and went back to his car to check it. Khalil relaxed again and reached for his hairbrush. The cop started shooting. As Khalil bled out on the pavement, the officer handcuffed Starr, frantically searching for his gun. Only then did he realize the object next to Khalil was a hairbrush, not a weapon. Starr's parents arrived at the station for her. 2 detectives also entered the room. Starr recounted everything that happened. She called the cop officer 115, the number on his badge. But the detectives only asked about Khalil. Was he drunk or dealing drugs?
I just want the whole picture, miss.
Well, you ask questions about what happened.
The interrogation was abruptly halted by Carlos, a black officer, Starr's cousin. Now, nightmares haunt Starr every night, and she wakes up nauseous every morning. Her family supports her as best they can. Starr and her family visited Khalil's grandmother.
The only real friend that boy ever had.
The woman was relieved that her grandson wasn't alone when he died. The room fell silent when Carlos arrived. He explained that the officer had been placed on unpaid leave for now. Maverick is confident he'll be covered. There will be a jury trial, and Starr will likely have to testify. She fears they'll now label her at school as the poor girl from the ghetto. She needs to hide what happened from everyone, but holding back her emotions has become harder.
Starr, just pretend the ball is a piece of fried chicken.
What was that? What?
Haley convinced Starr it wasn't a racist joke and asked her friend to share what's bothering her. Starr kept it all inside. On TV, they're talking about Khalil's murder. Kenya guessed Starr would be that witness they mentioned during the broadcast. King, Kenya's father, drove Starr and told her he's familiar with this. He lost many friends, and she should just forget about it. The girl is wary of the gangster. King threatened Maverick to keep his daughter away from the cops and quiet. He doesn't want the girl telling the cops that Khalil worked for him. Maverick previously did time for King. For that, the authority released him from the gang and gave him a store. Lisa believes it's time to leave the neighborhood. She wants her children to be safe. The father tells Starr about their community.
And ain't no real jobs around here.
So the young people start trading on the streets. They think it's a way out. But this is a lie. In the end, everyone winds up either in prison or in a grave. That's what happened to him and his father. But Maverick will break this cycle and give the children a better life. Starr came to the funeral. It hurts her to look at her dead friend. He looks nothing like himself. King and Seven's crazy mother also showed up. Lisa had to send the boy to her to get the woman to stop screaming in church. King looked closely at Starr. Attorney April Offra went on stage. She learned that the police were not going to arrest the killer. The woman suggested the community walk peacefully past the police station. April nodded at Starr. She also somehow learned that the girl would be a witness. A crowd of people with posters stood in the street chanting for justice. Although the protest started peacefully, everything ended with a fight with the police and arrests. In the evening, protests continued and turned into riots. Cops started acting even tougher. Chris called the girl to find out if she was safe. But Starr doesn't have time to talk to him now. April came to her and told her that Officer McIntosh's case might not even go to trial. Starr is the only witness, and she must tell the truth about what happened. The girl used to have two best friends. Natasha was killed by a gangster when she was only 10 years old.
He missed me once.
Starr only now revealed that Natasha was killed by the previous king when he was gone. It turns out she was a bad friend to Natasha. Starr also doesn't want to do the same with Khalil, but she won't go on television. Lessons were canceled at school. White kids are running to participate in protests and demand justice for Khalil. Starr doesn't like that her friend's murder has become a reason for celebration.
Who else is gonna speak up for our people, girl?
Our people?
Starr escaped from her friends just as she did from her boyfriend Chris. She called Carlos and asked him to take her to her mom's. The girl decided to become the voice of her slain friend. April promised Starr anonymity. They would obscure her face and alter her voice. She gave an interview explaining why Khalil had to hustle on the streets. Starr paused briefly and mentioned the gang Khalil worked for. She's frustrated that all the questions are about her friend again, not the cop and that night. It turns out Khalil could be blamed for his own murder. After the interview, the family went to a cafe. King and his crew watched them from the street. Maverick confronted the gangsters. When a scuffle started, the police arrived. The gangsters fled, leaving Maverick behind. The cops arrested him in front of his family. His relatives intervened. Seven nearly ended up face down on the pavement, and Starr began recording everything on her phone. Everyone in the cafe pulled out their phones. The cops had to retreat and release Maverick. Starr apologized for giving the interview, but her father taught them to fight police brutality at all costs. Haley is still trying to understand what's happening with her friend. Then, they saw a story on TV about Officer McIntosh. He worked in a high-crime area for 5 years, risking his life to maintain order. Poor guy, said Haley. He was just doing his job.
His life matters too, you know.
This finally drove a wedge between the friends. They don't understand each other anymore. Starr completely forgot about the school dance. As she walked the red carpet, she noticed everyone staring at her for some reason. Chris put her in the car and played the interview recording. Everyone already knew it was her, and Chris was angry at Starr for lying to him. Finally, she admitted that she didn't want pity or to be treated like a poor girl from the ghetto. She's an outsider in both her school and her neighborhood. At some point, Starr turned away from her people, and she's ashamed of it. Chris tries to convince her that he doesn't care about race. All he wants is to help Starr. Today, he's finally going to meet her dad. The introduction didn't go as planned. Maverick mistook Chris for the driver and tipped him. When Chris entered Rick's house, Rick didn't even shake his hand.
He's not my white boyfriend, he's just my boyfriend.
That marked the end of their meeting. Everyone knew about Chris except Maverick. Perhaps Chris was a poor example of a black man if his daughter chose a white man, but Maverick accepted her choice. Suddenly, the house was shot at. Rick grabbed his gun and heard threats. His daughter had to keep quiet. Maverick decided to leave his family with his brother and return home. Seven joined him in the car, ready to fight if needed. Carlos explained to his niece that many viewed Khalil's death as an accident. If a driver argues, he's hiding something. If a girl is in the car, she could be hurt or kidnapped. The driver is told not to move. If he reaches for something, Carlos might open fire, assuming it's a weapon. Starr countered, if it were a white guy in a Mercedes in a wealthy area, would Uncle shoot immediately or ask him to raise his hands first?
I say put your hands up.
Starr entered the courtroom. Her task was to convince the jurors to charge the cop and prove Khalil was a good guy who didn't deserve to die at 17. At school, Haley approached her friend. She suggested ignoring the situation. To Haley, Starr was safe, unlike Khalil, who dealt drugs and would eventually catch a bullet.
Get on the ground! Now!
Starr snapped, showing Haley what a dangerous black girl really is. Haley realized she's an outsider here, and no one understands her problems. Starr received a message. King beats 7. She arrived with Chris to get her brother, while his crazy mom complained about blood on her carpet. When King returned, the woman ordered the children to flee through the back exit. They needed to get 7 to the hospital, but protesters blocked their path. Turns out, the jury didn't press charges, and the cop was set free. By evening, riots consumed the city. Chris offered his help. Starr asked to take her friend and her little sister away from there. Aggressive men began attacking a police car. Ahead, a police cordon awaited protesters, demanding they leave the road and disperse. Starr stood with a megaphone in hand, facing the police, demanding justice. She became the voice of her people, leading the protest. The officers counted to 3 and moved in. Flashbang grenades were thrown. Protesters fled, some resorting to vandalizing cars and setting fire to shops. Starr and her brother gathered their father's friends in a shop marked with "Black Owned" on its shop window. They rinsed their eyes with milk and left them alone. King and his men awaited them, with a Molotov cocktail near the entrance. The teens were trapped, the back exit locked. Maverick arrived just in time, opening the door. The whole family arrived. King approached Maverick. Maverick wanted to reach for his gun, but it was already in his youngest son's hands. Cops rushed in, guns aimed at the boy. He symbolized the hatred Maverick tried to avoid. Starr stood between her brother and the police. Everyone lowered their weapons. "Enough," Starr pleaded. Maverick hugged his daughter, proud of her. The next day, King was arrested and jailed for arson, reported by everyone present. The snitching rules were abolished. The family reconciled. Even Dad made peace with Uncle. Starr, however, didn't reconcile with Haley. She had real friends now.